Hey, this is Chris from Record Talk, and so I'm jumping on a thread. This was started by Steve at All the World's a Stage. Basically, the idea is I have never owned a record by these five artists. I originally saw the thread being done by Aaron Mutha Alamere. I was honestly shocked that there were five artists he didn't have any records by. Steve does give us some rules. Basically, they have to be a pretty notable band, somebody who like played at like arenas or more. So you're not picking like obscure bands that maybe had a cult following but were not huge. So let's get into it. And one of the best things about this is you don't have to pull records for this. So you don't have to decide, should I take it out of the plastic sleeve or not, because you'll get the glare. Yeah, I don't have any props except my hands. I know some people don't like it, the hands. So put the hands away. All right, first one is yes. No, I've never bought Closer to the Edge or 90210 or any of the thousands of solo albums by the dozens of members of the band Yes over the years. I know the boomers and the prog nerds are shocked, appalled, and will slate me for this. I do own Brain Salad Surgery by ELP and probably a cheesy Genesis single or two from the 1980s with a picture sleeve on it. Number two is the Misfits. I've never been a horror movie guy, so horror punk as a genre seems gimmicky and kind of dumb to me. Plus, they kind of come across as meatheads. It's really stunning that they are, in this day and age, a big arena act. They do seem to be as popular as the Ramones and Nirvana, at least based on the number of young people I see wearing their t shirts. Number three is Candlebox. So I was thinking I liked grunge. I liked Seattle bands from the 1990s. I never really think of Candlebox as a grunge band, but they were from that area around that time. And Wikipedia tells me that they sold a shit ton of records. However, I choose to personally live in a world where the biggest stars from the 1990s were Mudhoney, Juliana Hatfield, and Local H. I know I'm the only person who lives in that world. As far as Candlebox goes, I never bought a Candlebox record. I do know that they toured with Bush in arenas in like the early to mid 1990s at sort of the zenith of their careers. At some point, I did own a Bush CD, so I couldn't use them for this video. I don't exactly know who the headliner was, but they had a couple multi-platinum albums. I think they were. I think it meets the criteria of being somebody who is big enough to be included on this. Number four is going to be Pantera. Now, I had pretty much checked out of the heavy metal world by the time 1990 rolled around and like their Cowboys from Hell album came along. I know Pantera did some stuff from like the hair metal genre earlier than that. They were never particularly big or famous in that. And then their groove metal in the 90s is where they made their name. When I chose to soften my anti metal elitist indie stance later on and revisit stuff, I've basically been revisiting your traditional metal and bits of hair metal for nostalgia reasons. Pantera isn't nostalgic for me. And my number five is going to be Taylor Swift. And honestly, the reason why I've never bought a Taylor Swift record is I don't want to buy one of her records and deny one of her millions of real fans an opportunity to buy that record. And to be honest, I think her records are a lot harder to find in a store than, say, Adele's records. See, if I wanted to buy an Adele record, I wouldn't feel guilty about it because everyone has had an opportunity to buy an Adele record and they've chosen not to. And I think selling out the biggest stadiums in the world for multiple nights in a row counts for Taylor Swift being notable enough for this. So thanks, Steve, for doing this. And I think this meets, it's not five records, five non records in 5 minutes.